All right, good afternoon, traders. Today is June 4th, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I am the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. How I made 2K today wasn't easy, wasn't conventional. Most of it was made selling little zero DTE calls for, 2 pennies more than what I bought them for. So it wasn't really conventional. Not much going on. Okay, so you can see here I traded the 602 calls, zero DTE, made $1,200 there. Made some 610 calls on 2 days till expiration, made $300 there. Where else? I made some more money than this. Maybe not. All right, $17 on some 620 calls. $16 on some 605 calls. Showing some other stuff up here that needs to be added in. Spy inventory there. Let's add that to that. $88 on some 605 calls. 16, 17. I got some more calls here. Okay. $22 on some 600 strike calls. All right. 1 DTE. So that's it right there, okay? So just managed to ink some out with that, all right? Mostly just playing the calls to the upside. So here's my map of the blue ones represent the buys, and of course the sells are the red ones. So you can see me buying the lows and selling the highs on that. Here again, buy the lows, sold some of the highs. And here again, bought the lows and sold the highs on some fills there. And you can see here, bought the lows, sold some highs, bought some more lows. And nothing on that one. That one bought the lows, sold the high, bought the low, sold the high, bought the dip, sold the high, high, right there. So that's what we got there on SPY. And one other one right here. Bought these lows, sold the highs up here, and reloaded. So that's it for SPY today on 10-minute charts. I know I got some more. I'll find it somewhere, but they're around here. Because it says I made 2K today, so obviously there's some sales that I can't see on here that are in something else. I think they were the puts. Did I put the puts in there? Yeah, I had some trade on some puts. Let me see if I can find that. There's some puts. All right, there's $200 on some puts right there. Okay, so I made some money buying some puts and selling those into the dips right here. All right, so I made 196 right here on those 592 puts. All right, so play both sides. Play the puts from the top and the calls from the bottom. All right, so that's mainly what I did to make or ink out my $2,000 today. It wasn't easy. It was a lot of chop. And I said in the morning that it's likely that after looking at the overnight consolidation, we'll take a look at it on a clean chart. And let's try this one on a clean chart. Okay, you can see a lot of consolidation over to the right, and I pretty much kind of said to traders, there's a good chance price just moves over to the right all day today. We might not get a breakout till after the European session, which I figured was going to be 12:30, but they held out a little bit longer. They didn't do the reversal till 2:30. Here's the 2:30 reversal right there, and of course they rolled that over back down to the yesterday's close right here. So there's price action. As you can see up here, this is a big bull flag. All right, just consolidating over to the right, looking for a rip up higher tomorrow. We'll see if we get it. All right, so there's SPY. Let's drill down. You can see on the 10-minute chart, we got a 10-minute downtrend. Of course, 10-minute under VWAP right into some support. You can obviously see support because the bulls kept buying it up right off of this level. See all the tails down here. Okay, so bulls bought it up right off that level. So there's 10-minute chart. You can see right now 10-minute downtrend under VWAP. All we did was chop back and forth over VWAP all day. So 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. 2 hour. I think the 2 hour is still alive. And maybe not. Let's take that off. Okay, 2 hour is right here. And you can see right here we got a 2 hour uptrend. Okay, you see the yellow 3 EMA is up over the white 8 EMA. So we got a 2 hour uptrend coming into the close. Look at the daily candle. And, excuse me, on the daily candle, we don't want that one. On the daily candle, you can see we made a higher low and a higher high. That's bullish. Closing over a bullish trap. Over the rising 17 EMA, that's bullish. If we put the quad lines on here, you can see price action, all right, is, let's drag them a little bit further. There we go. All right, up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Up here in quadrant 4, we're up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. You can see I can move this up over here, over the all-time high anchored VWAP. We're making higher lows and higher highs. It's bullish. Price action moving up and holding the higher ground. It's actually having a little breakout here today. We'll see where it goes. So nice little breakout coming into the close on the daily chart. Again, we're up here in quadrant 4. That's bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP, bullish. Closing over the trap. Excuse me. And the 17, that's bullish. All right. And got higher lows and higher highs. That's an uptrend. So everything bullish on SPY. All right. On the game plan. Game plan wasn't much today, okay? Like I said just a chance. Price just moves over to the right. As you can see, price went up and reversed. Went up and reversed. Went up and reversed, okay? So game plan was not much to talk about today. Didn't even come to the pivot. All right, they just kind of hung out up here, really. Actually, the pivot's probably going to move up to where that green line is. Because that's where price kept coming back and forth to this area right through, actually right through there. Price just kept coming back and forth to 596.60 area. All right, so game plan wasn't much today. Didn't really have anything to trade on the game plan. All we could do is trade the channel, all right, because price just moved to the right. And I said there's a good chance that's all that price does is move to the right. Being since I saw the overnight action, didn't go anywheres, all right? Didn't even test the highs. Didn't even, I don't even think it tested the lows. It just sat in the middle the whole time. So usually when that happens, it means the whole day, or at least the first 4 hours or 3 hours are going to be nothing but chop and move over to the right. So there's 10-minute chart on SPY with the game plan. All right, let's go back to the scratch and let's put in SPY QQQ. All right, QQQ on the daily chart. We can look at the breakout here. Okay, breakout again. Same thing happened in QQQ. Okay, price went up over the 528.50 and just didn't go anywhere. Same thing again. Same thing again. Pulled back to it. All right, so you had. For a brief moment, you had a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP on QQQ. So that one worked there. These first two kind of failed. All right, you can see the first two didn't go anywhere. That didn't break the rubber band candle. That didn't break the rubber band candle. But this one got a 10-minute uptrend, and that went somewhere, but then it turned around and came back to VWAP right there on QQQ. All right, let's take a look at this on the daily chart. And what do we got here, okay? Just like SPY, okay, you got a higher low and a higher high, closing over the trap, over the 17, over the uptrend line. Okay, all of that is bullish. Okay, price over the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's bullish. Up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Okay, we're ready to knock on the door of these all-time highs, and that's talking about QQQ and SPY. Okay, you got a higher low and you got higher highs, that's an uptrend. So both of them strong, moving up, holding that higher ground. That's bullish, okay? Whenever we see price move up and hold the higher ground, that's bullish. You can see price moves up. Pick up something a little thicker. Price moves up and holds that higher ground. That's bullish. When we go up and then we give it up, that's just neutral. Okay, we didn't go anywhere. We didn't make any headway. We didn't lose anything. So that's just neutral. Price goes up, gives it up. Okay, but it's not going up and giving it up. Okay, it's going up and it's holding that higher ground, which makes it bullish. That's what we want to be trading. That's where the products in here are moving up and holding higher ground. Okay, those are the products we want to be trading inside QQQ and SPY, because they're the ones that are moving up, all right, and holding that higher ground. Okay, now what do I like in QQQ and SPY? All right, so I like a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. What else do I like? I like it when that 10-minute uptrend over VWAP is inside of a 2-hour uptrend. That's also inside of a daily uptrend. That's also inside of a monthly uptrend. All right, that's also, all of that is over this all-time high anchored VWAP. This is a very rare occurrence that we have right now. This is opportunity, all right? You know, in quotation marks, this is real opportunity that we've had. See all of this time under VWAP? Okay, not very bullish, is it? Now we're up over this all-time high anchored VWAP. This is where the opportunity lies, okay? When we got 10-minute uptrends over VWAP inside of 2-hour uptrends that are inside of daily uptrends that are inside of, well, we wish they were weekly uptrends, but they're not. But let me just say the weekly's moving up and holding the higher ground, okay? It's not moving down. That are inside of monthly uptrends, okay? This is a rare occurrence. This is what we like to find. This is the bullish environment we're looking for. This is the prime time to be trading, is when you have all of those planets and stars are aligned like that, okay? This is the time. This is the place, okay? Right now, moving up, holding the higher ground. Now it's breaking out, okay? QQQ and SPY doing the same thing. Looking ready to pounce and attack on the prior all-time highs. Okay, this is opportunity. Okay, right now. All right, this doesn't happen all the time. It's very rare. All right, so I'm just saying this is the time to take advantage of it if you want to be a trader. All right, so that's that. And let's go look at what else I want to look at. Let's go look at FNGB, and I'll bet that FNGB made the same candle. Yep, higher low, higher high, just like the others, closing over the trap, over the 17. That is bullish. You can see us closing in the quadrant 4. That's bullish. You can see us closing over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's bullish. Up over the uptrend line. That's bullish. Making higher lows and higher highs. That's bullish. Moving up, holding the higher ground, that's bullish, and then breaking out. Okay, this is what you get when you go up, hold the higher ground. See how price, this is the way that bullish price moves. Okay, okay, I'm going to show you. Bullish price moves. It goes up, holds the higher ground, goes up, holds the higher ground, goes up, holds the higher ground. It's like a lightning bolt, right? Goes up. Now we want it to hold the higher ground. Okay, just like this. We want it to move up, little pull back, up, little pull back, up, little pull back, up. Okay, just like a lightning bolt, right like that. Okay, this is it. This is the time. This is the place. This is the opportunity. It exists right now. It does not always happen like this. You could get in the lulls or the summertime boredom where nothing happens. Everything just goes flat and there's nothing, there's no opportunity. Everything is just, all it does is wiggle around a little bit, okay? Right now is where the opportunity is, okay? When you've got a recipe, an environment, all right? I keep saying this same word, environment. This is a bullish environment, okay? Because this is the time, all right? I can't make it any more clear. This is the time, this is the place, this is the opportunity. It exists right now. This does not happen all the time. Okay, so if you want to be a trader, this is the time to take advantage of those 10-minute uptrends. All right, so let's trash that out. That's FNGB. Let's talk about IWM. And I got the wrong thing. Let's try it again. IWM. All right, IWM, just like the others. Higher low, higher high. Closing over the trap. That's bullish. Over the 17. That's bullish. Over the uptrend line. That's bullish. Under, but knocking on the door of the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's neutral. All right, price action right on the midpoint. Okay, really on the bullish side of neutrality there. Okay, so we're not in the upper third. Okay, so we're not up here in the upper third. We're not down here in the lower third. Okay, so this would be the bearish territory. Okay, and this would be the bullish territory. Okay, so we're not in the upper third, we're not in the lower third. So we're just in neutral land right now. Okay, but the good news is, okay, we are moving up and we're holding the higher ground. That is a bullish environment. Okay, that is very good. So there's IWM. Okay, just not in the upper third, not in the lower third. Okay, here's the other good news. They went down and gave it up. So that makes them neutral. Okay, it's the same way if you go up and give it up, that makes you neutral. All right, it's when you go up and you hold that higher ground, that's bullish. When you go down and hold that lower ground, all right, that's bearish. Okay, so IWM exhibiting some bullish environment. Okay, just not bullish yet enough. All right, needs to be up here in the upper third. Like to see it over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Notice the SPY and the QQQ are over the all-time high anchored VWAP, and the performance out of those securities or options is much greater than it is from IWM. All right, hence that's why we trade them. Okay, so there's IWM. Let's take that off. Let's go see Diamond Dow. All right, see Diamond Dow? Diamond Dow up here in the upper third. Okay, see the upper third up here? This would be the upper third. Okay, so Diamond Dow in the upper third. This is bullish up here. This upper third, this would be the upper third right here. Everything up there bullish. Okay, everything down here in the lower third, that's bearish. Upper third bullish, lower third bearish. Okay, let's trash all that out. And okay, you can see price action, higher low, higher high. Closing over a bullish trap. That's a bull. That's bullish. Over the 17, that's bullish. Over the daily uptrend line, that's bullish. Over the daily downtrend line, that's bullish, okay? In the upper third, that's bullish, okay? And up over the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's also bullish. Moving up and holding the higher ground, also bullish. I don't know how to say it. This is bullish. All right? This is ready. This is looking good. This is exhibiting a bullish environment. Okay? This is opportunity here, right here. Diamond Dow, okay? In the upper third. That's bullish. Okay? So that's on the daily chart. All right? Let's go take a look at the technicals. T2122, we can see we zipped up out of the buyer's chop zone right into the overbought zone. Okay? And we spent the day in the overbought zone. You can see today would be the 4th. It's a 15-minute chart. So we spent the day in the overbought zone making lower highs and lower lows, kind of melting back down into the buy zone down here. Okay, so we melted down into the buy zone. All right, so actually this needs to move up a little higher. I don't know why it's there. It's usually up around 90. Somehow it got moved. All right, right about there. Okay, so there's the overbought zone up there. This is the buy zone. Okay, so we made lower highs. Hopefully, we broke this downtrend line right here. Hopefully, they come back and J-hook. Okay, hopefully they come back and J-hook off this and come back up here and spend some more time in the overbought zone. We'll see. All right. That's what we hope. Hope they make a higher low and then come back up here to the overbought zone. We'll see what happens. All right. It is time for them to take a rest. So I really don't mind them taking a rest right now. T2123, look at this, attacking prior all-time highs up here. Okay, see the bullish gap up? All right, bullish gap up. Bears failed to fill the bullish gap. All right, that's weakness on their part. That's extremely bullish when you've got bullish gap ups that aren't filled by the bears. Okay, so T2123, 15 minute. And you can see on the 15-minute time frame, we're in an uptrend. Okay, because we're making higher lows. See the higher low? And we're making higher high. See the high? We made a higher high. So we're in an uptrend. We're up over. As you can see, this red line, this is 200 SMA. Price is consolidating over prior consolidation. Okay, let's take a look at that for a second. Okay, you can see price consolidating over prior consolidation. That's a bullish environment. Okay, price is up over the daily downtrend line. You can see that's this gold line right here. We're up over that. That's bullish. This is a prior all-time high that we're attacking, and rightly so. We bounced off of it a couple times. All right, so all of this is bullish. All right, in the past, I'm going to say 6 days, T2123 15-minute chart has been making higher highs on this rally. There's a high. There's a high. Okay, that was the third. This is right here. That's the second. That was right there. That is the end of May. Okay, this is the day before the end of May. This is the day before the day before the end of May. The day before that day. Okay, look at the highs being made every single day here. Okay, institutions are buying. Okay, you and we cannot make this happen. Only institutions can make this type of price action happen. So that's T2123. Okay, that's bullish. All right, you can see we'll go all the way back to the lows. Okay. Okay, so here's the lows. We moved over, we went up, and notice we are holding, okay, we're holding that higher ground. See, price moves up and is holding that higher ground. That's bullish. All right, hence we're making new highs right there. All right, so let's take that off. Let's go take a look at the 3-bar chart. 3-bar chart, okay, again, same thing happening here. Okay, price, okay, is moving up and is holding the higher ground. That's bullish. Hence, you've got all these green dots right there. Okay, price action. Let's take a look. This is not the 3-bar chart. Let me get the 3-bar chart open. This is the daily chart. Okay, price moves up, holds that higher ground. Okay, price is up over this falling 200 SMA. That's bullish. There's a high. We made a higher high. Okay, so that's an uptrend. And we're bullish, holding that higher ground. And we're over the backside of this downtrend, daily downtrend line. That's bullish. We're attacking these all-time highs. All right, this is a prior all-time high, not the all-time high. It's a prior all-time high. And you can see us attacking this low right here. Hopefully we get up through it. It would be normal, let me just say this, for price, okay, to possibly bounce back down to the 200 or the daily downtrend line and J-hook out of there. All right, we'll see if that can happen. That would be normal for price to do that after hitting this valley low, okay? I said this valley low right here is probably going to be a target. Anytime you see a valley low between two peaks, more than likely it's going to be a target. And I said that would probably be a target eventually in the future. But that was over a month and a half ago, all right, that this was going to be a target. And lo and behold, today in June, we are back at that valley low between two peaks right there. That's kind of cool, all right, knowing that's going to happen. See the peak here and the peak there. There's the valley low between the two peaks, and here we are coming back to test this low right here. So there's T2123 3-bar. On the daily chart, okay, Okay, the first high to come to beat is right here. So price action has to take out that high to be in an uptrend. Okay, it's in a downtrend, but let's just look at it carefully. It's not moving down, is it? Okay, it's moving up and holding the higher ground. That's bullish. Okay, in order to be in an uptrend, which is just a label, okay, it has to take out that lower high right there. If they take that lower high out, they will negate the uptrend, the downtrend label or the status, all right, and they will convert it to uptrend, okay, if they take out that high. We'll see if they can get it done. They already transitioned over this downtrend line. They've got to transition over these two prior all-time highs and the 200. We'll see if they can get it done and take out that high. All right, it's possible, okay, because we just had inflation, and inflation means, you know, that all the goods and services that we sell are going to be selling for more money than we used to sell them for. That's what inflation does, which brings in more revenue to the top line, okay, for business. Now, it sucks for a consumer because everything you're paying for costs more. But for a business, it's awesome, all right, because now you're getting more money, all right, for the goods and services that you sell. And with that, hopefully, if your profit margin stays strong and management is doing the right thing, those higher revenues transition down to the bottom line into higher returns, okay? In other words, earnings per share. And whenever you get more earnings per share, you're allowed, you're usually given a higher price because you're earning more per share, okay? So we'll see what happens, all right? It is very possible we go much higher than where we are. We'll find out in the near future. All right, so there is T2123. That's the daily chart. I'll move it back over here. All right, here's FNGB. Look at price action for FNGB today. Okay, up. Look at this, bullish all day here. All right, little pullback. Looks like a 6 martini lunch. And then back into the buying again, up over VWAP. Up over this 200 SMA, that's bullish. Okay, consolidating over prior consolidation. That's a bullish environment. Let's look at this. Okay, so we got, it's way too fat. You got bullish consolidation here. See all price inside the box. You got bullish consolidation here. See, inside the box. And then you got more consolidation here inside the box. So this is bullish. Consolidating over prior consolidation. That's bullish. All right, and then price action, you can see right here, up over the 200 SMA, that's bullish. Price action up over the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's bullish. Up over the uptrend line, that's bullish. Everything looking good, FNGB. All right, let's take a look at a few sectors. All right, first sector we look at is XLE, that's energy. All right, see how energy closing in the lower third. Okay, so that's bearish. Energy is in an uptrend, but here's the problem. It's not moving up. Okay, we're making higher lows and higher highs, but for the last 14 days, we have not been moving up. That's energy right there, okay? Stuck in the lower third, that's bearish. Okay, stuck underneath the downtrend line, that's bearish. Underneath downtrend line 2, that's bearish. Underneath all-time high, 12-month high anchored VWAP, that's bearish. In the lower third, bearish. Underneath the trap, bearish. Underneath the 17, bearish. I don't know how to say it. Things aren't looking good for the energy sector. All right, so let's take a look at USO. Okay, it is what it is. USO doing a little bit better than it has in the past. They finally made a higher high, so they're in an uptrend. Okay, not a very convincing uptrend, but they're in an uptrend because they made a higher high. That was the high to beat. They made a higher high. Okay, so USO in an uptrend. Okay, but they just broke out of the lower third. Okay, right there. They just broke out of it. Okay, price action made an outside day closing. Okay, just over a bullish trap over the 17, but not in the lower third. Okay, so it's neutral. Okay, they're still caught underneath this 3-year high anchored VWAP. That's the post-COVID high. Okay, that's the all-time, not the all-time high, but the 3-year high anchored VWAP right up there. Okay, and we're underneath the midpoint. Okay, so still quite bearish. All right, but they are in an uptrend. They have held the higher ground up here, which is good, and now they're having a breakout to new highs. So that's a little uptrend there, but they're just not bullish enough to get over the midpoint, not bullish enough to get over this 3-year high anchored VWAP, and definitely not bullish to get up here in the upper third. Okay, so there's USO. Okay, not really ready yet. This cake is not ready. It has not. It's just not ready. It's not ready yet. USO. It's getting ready. All right. Not till we get up over the midpoint. I want to see it exhibit some really bullish behavior. Okay. Right now, it's just barely passing as bullish. Like when you had a grade in school, 70 was passing. Okay. This is a 71. Right there. As far as passing goes, it's a 71, okay? This is not an A, a B, a C, or a D. This is a D, all right? It's not an F. It's just a D. It's a 71 right there. Okay, so there's USO. Let's take a look at UNG. UNG got an inside day. Closed over the trap. All right, closed over the 17. Both of that is bullish, okay? But the bar really isn't set that high. Okay, closed over the downtrend line. That's bullish. Closed over this 12-month high anchored VWAP, which is not impressive at all because it's not the all-time high. The all-time high is way back there. So where you can see the bar is not set very high. All right, and we're just using the 12-month high. Okay, and we're up over the uptrend line. All right, we're no longer in the lower third. Okay, so just neutral. Again, another 71. Just barely passing, okay? Closing over that all-time high anchored VWAP. Again, just barely passing. No uptrend yet because they failed to make a higher high. Okay? If they take out that high right there, let's see what they got here. High 1715, high 1710, okay? If they take out this high, okay, they could have an uptrend. But it's been 3 days and they still haven't done it. So we'll see what happens, all right? They're that close to making themselves in an uptrend, okay? Not a very convincing uptrend, okay? The bar is really low on this one for them to beat, okay? It's not like it's this high or this high or this high, even that high, okay? It's just this, a little pip squeaker, all right? So UNG. Let's take a look at GLD. All right, GLD, over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's bullish. Closing over the trap. That's bullish. Over the 17. That's bullish. Up here in quadrant 4. That's bullish. Moving up, holding higher ground. That's bullish. Up over the uptrend line. That's bullish, all right? Look at this chart, okay? There's no way you can call that even neutral or bearish, okay? It's moving up, holding all that higher ground. Up here in quadrant 4. Okay, gold is bullish. Gold is in an uptrend. Gold is over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, gold is looking good. Let's take a look at silver. Silver is up over this 12-year high anchored VWAP. Up here at the top of quadrant 4, that's bullish. Making higher lows and higher highs, that's bullish. Closing, look. Over the trap, that's bullish. Over the 17, that's bullish. Quadrant 4, bullish. Okay, this is the 2024 high for silver. Okay, got attacked there. All right, couldn't make it. We're coming back after it right now. Okay, so this is in jeopardy. They're ready to pounce on this 2024 high, make a new 12-year high right here. So there's silver. That's bullish. That's looking good. All right, again, higher lows, higher highs. All right, bullish up here in quadrant 4. All right, let's take a look at SMH. All right, SMH, higher low, higher high. In the upper third up here, that's bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's bullish. Over the downtrend line, that's bullish. Hey, let me just say, Intel looking good. All right, Intel exhibiting some bullish behavior. SMH, this is semiconductors index. Okay, that's bullish. Nice little breakout of the grinder box up here. Okay, SMH, nice. That's bullish. Moves up, holds the higher ground for 2 weeks. Now we're getting a breakout. Okay, SMH, that's bullish. Over the downtrend line, over the all-time high anchored VWAP, over the trap, over the 17, up here in the upper third. Everything bullish about SMH. Okay, looking good on SMH. All right, let's take a look at Big Brother, XLK. Okay, same thing. Over the trap, bullish. Over the 17, bullish. Over the uptrend line, bullish. Over the all-time high anchored VWAP, bullish. Up here in the upper quadrant, number 4, that's bullish. Moving up, holding the higher ground, also bullish. All right, price action making higher lows and higher highs, and we're getting a breakout. Okay, so there's XLK. That's bullish and in an uptrend. Let's take a look at XLF. All right, XLF, higher lows, higher highs. That's bullish. All right, that's an uptrend also. Up here in quadrant 4, see this? That's bullish. Moving up, holding the higher ground, bullish. Closing under the trap, okay, that's neutral. Closing over the 17, that's bullish. Look at all these tails. Didn't notice that before. A lot of tails there. All right, up in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Okay, over the all-time high anchored VWAP, bullish. This is looking good. It's in an uptrend. It's bullish. IYT, this is the problem child. Right here. This one is the problem child. Okay, IYT is our transport index. Okay, now, in order for everybody to say things are banging on all cylinders, okay, you need to be moving product around the country. In other words, shelves getting restocked because sales are happening, okay? That means people are purchasing stuff off the shelf, all right? Doesn't seem to be the case. Or even materials and supplies being moved around the country. Let's say you're building a bridge. You're going to need some girders. You're going to need some concrete. Okay, you're going to need all that stuff. And the personnel shipped in there. You're going to need somebody to put the crane together. Okay, you're going to need a lot of stuff. You're going to need some heavy equipment because you're going to have to move some earth. All right? Price action does not seem to represent that. Okay? On IYT, transports. It's not really telling us that story that we're looking for. What is going on here? All right. All right, so it's not really telling us that story. Okay, what it's telling us is it's just neutral. Okay, because we're right up over the midpoint right here. Price action, higher low, higher high. Okay, that's a little bit bullish, but we closed inside a bearish trap. That's bearish. We closed underneath the 17. That's bearish. We closed underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's kind of neutral because it's up here in quadrant 3. We closed underneath the downtrend line. That's bearish. Okay? The good news is we're moving up and we're holding the higher ground. That's bullish. Okay? But recently, for the past, again, 14 days, all right, we haven't been moving up. We're moving down. Okay, we got a bull flag that's experiencing a pullback. It's holding the higher ground, but it just hasn't been moving up, not in a long time. Maybe it will be moving up tomorrow, maybe next week. We'll see, but everything else is moving up. IYT is not, okay? And that's why I call it the problem child. Okay, so this is again, we're under the under the downtrend, the uptrend line. We're under the uptrend line. That's bearish. Okay, we're under this all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, so that's neutral right there. We're not in the upper third. We're not in the lower third. Okay, so we're just neutral. We're on the bullish side of neutrality. And believe me, we were up here almost in the upper third for 2 or 3 days. We were bullish over this all-time high anchored VWAP and in the upper third. Okay, but then we lost it. We just gave it up. Now, we didn't go far away. Okay, we did kind of hold our higher ground. Okay, we didn't do this. All right, we didn't go up and then back. Okay, instead we went up. Okay, we went up and we kind of went like that. Okay, maybe this is the next trigger for the lightning bolt. Okay, maybe this is what's coming. Hopefully that's what it is. All right, but can't linger here too long, otherwise investors give up and they sell off because they're not getting the kind of action that they're looking for. All right, they can't sit there and watch technology make new highs every day, all right, and still stay invested inside of transports which haven't moved up in 14 days. Okay, you linger here too long and you wind up moving up and giving it up. Okay, just saying. All right, so hopefully something breaks loose soon. Okay, we'll see what happens. So that's IYT. All right, traders, that's it for me today. Take a couple questions in the room. No, that was long and winded. All right, pin it. Yeah. John, how can we create the chart where you have SPY on the top and the options in the bottom panel? Sure. I can show you how to do that. All right. You have to, let me just go get an option. You have to do this. Chart properties. Okay, right here. Option symbol. It's the next one. Plot the underlying stock and the option. Okay, you have to bubble in that circle. Remember, with the number 2 pencil or with your mouse. Okay, so watch what happens if I depress it. Well, if I take it off. See how it comes off? Now it comes back on. See, plot the underlying stock. Plot the underlying stock and the option. Now I take my number 2 cursor. This is my number 2 cursor. Okay, and now it plots the option down here. Is that kind of cool? Are you still here? Robert? Yeah? Is that pretty easy? I'll do it again. Okay, it was so easy, it was fun. Right click, chart properties. All right, might be on price style. Come on over to option symbol. Okay, and in the fine print down here where it says plot, okay, that's just the stock. If you want the option underneath it, plot the underlying stock and the option right there. This is so easy. I could do this all day. All right. So now you got the option underneath and the stock up here. So you can trade it while it trades. Awesome. All right, guys and gals, traders, great day today. Sorry, I told you at the beginning of the day it's probably going to go sideways, and it's pretty much all we got. All right, I think they're going to chase it up tomorrow for AVGO. All right, because AVGO reports tomorrow night at 4:30. All right, I think you're going to get it. I think you're going to see price get chased up. I think. All right, don't quote me on it. All right, but I think Broadcom's a big one. I think they'll chase it up tomorrow. All right, we'll see what happens. Looking at MP, only U.S. companies that make our earthy magnets. China won't allow exports of magnets. Good move today. Oh, rare earth magnets. Okay. I'm not a magnet follower, but that's anytime we've got a company that does what China does and we do it better and cheaper, I'm all for it. Don't get me wrong, I like the Chinese, but I'd like to see America succeed. Yeah, those rare earth magnets. I've never had one, and if I was holding one, I wouldn't know I had it. So, I wish I knew. But if I was holding one, and if I was holding one magnet, generic magnet in one hand and a rare earth magnet in the other, I wouldn't know the difference. You bought some CCL today. I think that's a cruise line, isn't it? Carnival. All right, let's take a look at the daily. Oh, yeah. Yep, nice dip back up. Holding in right into the grinder box. Nice breakout right there. I like that one. Nice. Let's see, I did bubble in a couple today. I think I starred one. Let's see what CAR did on the daily. See, CAR was ready to break out. Then they gave us this candle yesterday and this candle today. So I took the asterisk off of them. ATI. Yeah, ATI did the whole breakout thing, okay? For those of you that look at my my postings, this would be today's. You can see ATI had an asterisk yesterday for a breakout. And CAR did, but CAR didn't perform, so I took the asterisk off that one. I left the asterisk on ATI. And of course, you can see ATI continues with the breakout. So that's looking good. All right, so ATI, I don't know if you guys follow it, but I try to provide you with nice little grinder box breakouts. And ATI was a little grinder box breakout. It was up here and it held this area for 4 days. See that? 4 days. Hold. And you can see yesterday gave you a little bump. And then today got another little bump. All right? ATI. Right there. CAR was asterisk, but you can see you need a 10-minute uptrend in order to get going. Okay? Now you can see you obviously did not have a 10-minute uptrend in CAR. Okay, so you would not have traded that one. You need a uptrend, all right, breaking out over the highs. It did not, so you would not have bought this on the pullback, all right, not till it exhibits bullish behavior. All right, if they can reverse this and snap it back up here to these highs, that would be bullish behavior. Right now, they closed underneath the 17, which to me is a no-no, all right? Means they're probably going to come down and test some support, which is, you can see they tested it right there. See that tail right into there. So maybe they get a reversal back up here over the next 2 days. We'll see what happens. Can I explain IonQ as a bull? IonQ was up and it was starred, and then they failed to hold the higher ground. It's up over the 17 still, Doug, all right, and that's the only explanation as a bull. It's up over the 17, okay? It's under the downtrend, all right, but it's up over the 17. Does that make sense? It's not a very good one. I wouldn't trade it right there, but it is bullish. Not to say that it can't recover. I'll pull back, make a higher low, and make a higher high. It could recover. I don't know. That looks like an exhaustion candle to me. You know what I'm saying? Me, I would kind of steer clear of it, but then again, it was bull flagging up here for some time. All right, until like the last 4 days, it just kind of fell out of bed. And who knows, maybe, okay, you've got a higher low here. Maybe they make a higher high. All right, maybe they just consolidate over to the right and then eventually make that higher high. We'll see what happens, all right? For me, not till they got up over a lot of this. Recovered 51% of this. Okay, see all of this? They need to recover 51% of this pullback. Okay, so they have to get, really I would want them above that above that tail. I would want them up here over 45.12. Yeah. This is in the hopium camp, all right? It's bullish because it's up over the 17, but it's definitely under the trap. Not a very good place to be. Axon had a good move. Let's take a look. AXON. Robert says Axon. Yes, that is a very good one. Here's a good one, Doug. Right there. That was a nice breakout right there. Let's go take a look at my chart there. My plan to see if we can find something in there that we like. It does look good. All right, let's just pick a couple off of here. Let's just squeeze this. And since the market's bullish, let's just stick with the bulls. All right. So we got Love, 5, EVLV, CSTM. All right, so we're going to hit those. Okay, 5. Okay, 5 has been good. That's a nice one. No exhaustion candle there. Okay, attacking the prior highs. Look at that. See, the peak between two valleys will often be a target, just like the valley between two peaks will often be a target. See this? This is a target right there. Don't you wish you knew that 10 days ago or 20 days ago when 5 first got on the list? That this peak between the two valleys was going to be a target. It ran up from, well, 100 up to 120. Right there. Okay, I wouldn't buy this now. Now I would wait for it to prove that it can hold this area, because that is resistance. So I would need it to move up and hold this area over that peak. Okay, now's not the time to mess with this. Back here, when it was moving up towards the target, it was. Now I would stay clear of this till it showed me it can hold that higher ground. So there's 5. Let's try EVLV. That's on the list. Okay, EVLV kind of like IonQ. It's got that pullback. It's over the 17. All right, but it's under the trap. Okay, so I would not be interested in that one, but it is exhibiting some bullish behavior. Now here it was nice when it moved up, moved over to the right, and then zipped up like that. That was a nice move right there. EVLV. Let's try to look at Love. I think this is Southwest. Yeah, Southwest. Bullish up here. Over the 17, but kind of losing it again, having a pullback. See, they can do this, Doug. They can pull back underneath the trap, hit the 17, and then recover. Okay, it's possible. All right, not saying it's going to happen for IonQ, but I'm just saying it can happen. All right, it hasn't happened yet, and until it happens, I wouldn't trust it. Okay, especially with that exhaustion-looking candle. All right, probably wouldn't touch that for a while with that candle. Give it some time to cool off. All right, and that's what it's doing. It's going through that cool-off period from having such a hot candle. All right, so there's Love making a higher low here, ripping up and making a higher high. Okay, is it going to make another higher low? That's Love. Let's take a look. CSTM. That's on the list. That's a nice breakout right there. See, now that's something that's exhibiting bullish behavior up over the trap, over the 17, moving up, holding the higher ground. That's nice right there. I like that. Okay. See all this resistance? This looks ready. This one, Doug, looks like it's ready to start filling some gap right here. Okay, if it can get up there and hold that area, it looks like it's ready to start filling some gap. You get a nice little gap here, take you up for $2 or $3. That'd be like a 10%, 20% move up there. All right, so that's CSTM. All right, we already did CAR and ATI. Let's take a look at EYE. There's a high flyer. Okay, it's been on the list for a while. SMR. Consolidating right here. Biggest candle at the end of the move. I wouldn't trust that, not for a while. I let that cool off for 2-3 weeks. All right, I'd let that cool off 2-3 weeks on that one. BTSG. Not saying it's not bullish. It is up over the 17. That's bullish, holding that higher ground. You can see it's right into resistance, a prior high right there. It's a prior all-time high, actually. All right, so this one looking ready to blast up through here. This one, look at all these. Here's one for you, Doug. Look at all these higher lows. I don't like all the red candles. If you could find a day with an uptrend, in other words, a day with a 10-minute uptrend inside BTSG, that would look good. All right? All I'm seeing here is red candles. So for me, I wouldn't touch it till I saw some 10-minute uptrend. Everything here is they're just selling it. But it's not moving down. Notice it's holding that higher ground, and I like all these higher lows. So somebody's buying out the bottom, all right, and somebody's selling the top. So it's consolidating. Eventually, I think this is going to be one that spurts out even higher. That one, M-chip. Nice breakout there. See that? Like to see that get going. All right, nice bull flag, pull back to the. See, they can come to the 17 and get underneath the trap, and you can see, Doug, they can recover. Not all the time. I wouldn't trust IonQ. This one I would trust more because IonQ has that big exhaustion-looking candle. Not till they got up over it. All right, this one. Yeah, look how this one performed. Pull back to the 17 and then bounce up. I trust this one more than IonQ. There's M-chip. HIMS kind of lost it. They were looking good here with this grinder box. Then they had a nice day yesterday, busting out over the top, and then kind of lost it. I think HIMS is a $200 stock. I mean, baldness for men and women, you cure that. That's like bigger than Botox. All right? Just not today and not yesterday. I like this a lot. I think this is a great candidate to go to 200. Just not today and not yesterday. I guess it needs more cooling off. HIMS is still up over the 17. Well, not today. It's been on my list and off my list. It came off here and then went back on here. And now it'll probably come off again because it's under the 17. HIMS, ASST. See how it's barely hanging on to the 17 right here. See how they come down, they tag it and bounce, tag it and bounce, tag it and bounce, tag it. See, got underneath it, but won't close underneath it. Okay? So they're kind of rounding out the bottom here. ASST. Kind of setting up a head and shoulders. Yeah, that looks like an exhaustion candle. I kind of steer away from that one. I'd pick something a little easier than that. QBTS. That's a nice one. I would pick that. That's not too bad. And we recovered 51% of this candle here. I like that. That looks pretty nice up over the trap. 4 days up in a row like that. ALGM. There's a nice breakout. Another one. Okay. Joby. I wouldn't trust that one. Looks like an exhaustion candle. coin. Coin looks ready to pop. Yeah, coin looks good. If I found some 10-minute uptrend over VWAP on that, I like that one. That was starred right here, but it didn't go anywhere. Oclo's consolidating. It's kind of hot. I think I'd give it a couple weeks to cool off. You can see it hit this prior peak right here. So probably going to cool off. All right. Ta-dump. Well, that's a big high flyer there, isn't it? Sometimes when they look like an exhaustion candle, look, they can go even further. You never know. Look at that. Now, I would not think of trading that until it got up over that peak right there. I would have to see green erases red. And it did. All right? And then it did again. And then it did again. All right? That one's kind of hot. I think I'd like to see a nicer pullback, a friendlier pullback on that one. That's not a friendly pullback. That's a high flyer. That looks like a bull trap. You know, it's up so high from November. 6 months, it goes from what? 10 cents, 50 cents to 765. Yeah, kind of steer away from that one. That one's going to come off the list tomorrow. And that one looks very good. I think I like this one. That's a nice one. Nice little pitch. Nice 45-degree pitch. I like them when they're at 33. A 33-degree pitch to me is better. 45 can get too accelerated too fast. All right, that's nice. That's 45. It's just maybe wait for that to pull back right about there. If you can get a pullback inside of that, that would look nice. Right inside there. Right on that support right here. So this could pull back into that notch. I think you could see a J hook out of there. That doesn't look like it's going to happen till maybe the third week of June right there. And it may just keep going, but that one, I would draw these and then I'd put a little circle. And if it got in my circle, I'd watch that for a breakout. Do I think Meta can run more? I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to say it prematurely. All right? Without even looking at it. Yes. It's not at the all-time highs right up here. Facebook is doing wonders. You know? They got their hands on all kinds of advertising. Look, you got that higher low right on support right there. I think they can shoot right back up here. Yeah. They're looking good. Yes, I think this goes higher. I think it needs to cool off some, but let me just say, all those securities inside of FNGB, all right, are very sought after, and every index has got to hold them. All right, they have to have a good supply of them. Almost every fund manager has these in there. They're getting it done. I think you got another leg up. Let's just look at this with the box. Okay, let's duplicate the box. I think they're capable of moving up to there, which is 800. And they will encounter some speed bumps along the way, but I think they're capable of moving that high. Yes. You know, can it run up higher? Yes, it can. Will it? It looks highly probable that it moves up to this area and at least attacks this breakdown candle high. And probably waffles around, puts in a little cup and handle over here, and then moves up to this area here. That's what I believe. All right, doesn't mean it's going to happen. All right, but this is looking good. I like it. All right, guys, that's it for me for today. All right. Hey, thanks, Jim. Jim, did you do okay today? I think you got yourself out of a squeeze with the puts, right? That was good. All right. Okay, I'll see everybody tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me. We'll see you all tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Thank you, Brad, Jim, Doug, everybody, Robert, Alpha Dog, Peter. Okay, appreciate that. Everybody have a beautiful evening. See you tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Thank you.